This is a recording on a Camstudio software program. And basically what Camstudio is for is to screen record into an AVI file format so that you can always access it later on to be able to do tutorials or presentations. It is a screen recording device, so anything that you set up in a region that you want recorded from your desktop, laptop screen will be recorded. So for instance, it's really easy to use. It is very simple. As you can tell, it doesn't take up much room. It is a very tiny window. There's several different things about it, but from everything that I've read and everything that I've done with it by making my own tutorials, then it's a very easy step process for you to go by. So I'm going to start by telling you about the region that you can use. Now under region, you can select the full screen that you want everyone to see. You might want to do just a window. So you would select the window of whatever it is you're wanting to record and show steps through. Or maybe it's a fixed region and maybe you don't want everyone to see everything on your desktop. So you can select the parameters. Also, there might be just a region that you can take the corners and pull it out a little bit of a square and set a certain area so that they can only see that particular area. So you get to decide what people see is the first step. Under options, there's only a couple of things you need to know to really get started. Mainly under your cursor options. You will decide whether you want to hide the cursor or whether you feel like that will be a benefit to your presentation or tutorial. I feel like that it's easier for people to follow, so I always like to show the cursor. Now in this one you actually get to customize it a little bit, and you can choose which cursor you would like to have. Under this I chose a pencil. We're all in the education field. I thought that would be appropriate. You can also have it highlighted so it highlights where you're going, and you can choose the kind of area, whether it's a square area or what of the highlight, and then of course what color you would like. And I feel like the more vibrant the color, the better it is for people to follow along, so that's why I chose the color yellow. When you click out of this, since all of mine is already there, I'm going to hit cancel. There's another section under options that you would want to do before you begin recording, and that is deciding whether you want to record with audio or without audio. So if you do with audio, of course, you would definitely do the microphone or speakers. With the microphone, most of our things are now integrated into our computers, so that is the way that most people utilize from what I read online. And then they did not change anything under the audio options. It's basically a default. And you go, if you try to mess with some of the settings, it will mess up your recording. So you can then proceed down to program options. Of course, if you don't want audio, you can choose the do not record audio, because maybe you just want to show steps through a screen but not talk. So you can always have that option as well. Under program options, we are going to go down to the keyboard shortcuts. When you click here, this will allow you to set the parameters up for hotkeys, so to speak, or shortcuts on your keypad. For me, the best one of all is the pause key. I've set it at Control F8. Now, one of the best things about Camstudio is it's a very forgiving software. So for instance, let's say that you all of a sudden feel a sneeze about to come on, and yet you're in the middle of doing a presentation or tutorial that's going to be out there for the entire school to have access to. And you don't necessarily want to have to redo the entire presentation. You could hit that Control F8. It will automatically pause your session, and then it will automatically pick back up right where you stopped, let you get yourself together and get composed again and go right back into your presentation. So that is a wonderful concept within Camstudio. Now, under Tools, you have the option that you can do screen annotations or video annotations. You can actually save to AVI format. Now when it saves to the AVI format, This will allow you to play it through your Windows Media Player, so that you can actually show the screens that are being utilized. It'll go through the screens just as you're seeing, and then it will also record your audio, so it'll play at the same time. So it's almost like watching a movie. You do have the option of doing Flash, but since not everybody has access to Flash, especially if you're using like iPads or even iPods, it's probably better to stay with the AVIs, because I know some schools use the Apple products. Under Effects, you can use the annotations and add captions or even timestamps. Sometimes people want to do that. Now, this is the button view. A lot of times you want to keep Camstudio on your screen, but you don't want it to take up a lot of room. So under Normal View, I'm going to click, you would see the entire screen of Camstudio. But you don't necessarily need to see all of that. So if you hit Compact, this is exactly what you would see as this entire little rectangular box. And then, of course, if you go back to just the buttons view, you can see you can make it even smaller. Now, in order to get everything back again to what you originally had, you would click this square, and then you would go back and connect to whatever one you wanted for your buttons. Now, we are pretty much ready to record. So if you wanted to do a tutorial at this point, you know that you would be ready to go in and start setting your parameters. Now, for the rest of my presentation, I'm actually going to show you how to utilize this and how it will record my screen so that you can see it, and you will be able to follow the steps of how to do this tutorial of logging in to a website called Tumblebooks. So at this point, let's say you're new at this, you would go into Region. I would select Full Screen. Then I would go to Options. I would select my cursor, change my cursor options. I would decide if I wanted audio, go to Record Audio from the microphone, and I would select it. I would then proceed down to my program options. Now, I would select my keyboard shortcuts so that I would be able to have a pause key if needed during my presentation. Now, this will automatically save to your temporary files, and it will put it under a automatic file naming as the date and the time so that you will know how to locate it later on. You could ask for the file name if needed, but for ease of use, we're going to keep it as just using the date and time. And now you are ready to begin. You would just scroll over here, go to File, and you would click the Record button. And then you would be seeing an entire full screen of whatever is on your screen. So for now, we're going to go down to the internet and begin our tutorial so that you would see what others would see. I'm going to click here. We're going to type in Tumblebooks, and as you can see, it's already coming up on my screen. Now click, and you can see it's following with my cursor. You have a username under Tumblebooks, so if you were doing this as a tutorial, you would say now enter your username, and it automatically comes up with my password, so you could have that pre-done if you were showing this as a tutorial so there's no confidentiality problems. Now click Submit. Now as you can see, we're in the Tumblebook library. And let's say we're going to do a tutorial on the Tumblebook search. So under Tumble Search, we're going to search under Reading Level. Scroll down and select Reading Level. Next, in order to do a Tumble search, you have to choose what level you want to use. Accelerated Reader, Lexile, or by grade level. And for our purposes, we're going to choose by grade level. Now, we're going to say that our students are between the 1st and 4th grade, so you would not need to necessarily tell them to do anything else. If you had a certain grade, you could and tell them to select it now. Otherwise, leave it here and tell them to click the next button or the play button circle. Once they get into here, they will see a screen as you are. It shows a list of all of the books that are on Tumblebooks within that parameters that we just set. Now, a couple of things I want to show you just since we're in here and this would be our tutorial is that you will have access to add these to a playlist. It gives you all the information about the books, and then you can view this book online. Now, for those of us in the future that have iPads or that may be getting iPads at the school level, this is very beneficial because this is not this is something new for Tumble Books, and it's actually still in the process of being developed, but the iPad versions are coming out. And like, I'm a hearing impairment teacher, and I travel to multiple schools in multiple counties. So carrying my backpack with a laptop in it gets very heavy, especially by the end of the day. So using the iPad has relieved a lot of that, and now having this access to it on the iPad through story time will definitely be a benefit for me, and for teachers and media specialists in general. So we're going to scroll back up, and you could say, now I want you to find the book Ace Lacewing Bad Bugs Are My Business. And of course, this is our title right here. So click the View Online button now. And as you can see, it is coming up on our screen. And you can tell them skip the intro or not. And when it goes into the book, you could say, I don't want it to read it to you. Click the mute button. And now it's muted. So you have steps even within this that you can show. And as you see, while I'm doing this tutorial for you, it automatically is collecting all of my steps. It's showing you my cursor and everything. So this is a huge benefit for teachers in general. They can use this with their special education students if they need to show steps on how to log in to, say, the AR system. And students that need repetition as part of their modifications could go in there on the desktop in the room and watch this tutorial as needed so that they could access it and have repetition for the steps of going into the AR system without interrupting the teacher. Also, administrators can use this to send out steps for logging into a survey. And media specialists especially can use this and put out there for new teachers on how to log into gradebook systems, or how do you log in and check out books on the self-checkout screen in the library so the teachers would be aware and teach the students. Or even have this so that students could view how to do that in the library and be able to show this. All of the tutorials can be housed on a faculty drive that everyone has access to so that they could go out there as needed if they forget how to do something. So it is definitely a time-saving tool, and I think it could benefit many people. Even in the upcoming holiday season, I'm going to go ahead and click out of this. As people get new technology, parents, sisters, brothers, children, you could go out here and create a tutorial on how to log into email and send it to them, since it's an AVI file format, and they can watch it, and then they'll have the steps to do it. So it's definitely a time-saving tool. And just so you will know, if I click under my view button, I'm going to hit normal view. This entire presentation that I've done has been pre-recorded, as I'm doing right now, and I'm going to show you how you would stop your recording. But this has been an entire Camstudio recording session for a tutorial regarding Camstudio, so you have had a tutorial within a tutorial. Thank you and have a good night.